We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What is good? Happy March Draft Madness, whatever we want to call this. This is day 3, where what we're doing is we're going through different mock draft scenarios, different mock drafts, different players every single time, and we're putting them head to head. And today we have a great head-to-head matchup, a Daniel Jeremiah inspired mock draft and a Mel Kiper Jr. mock draft, because they just got released. So we're taking their first round pick, and then I'm just building off of it and adding players that we have not yet gone through. So at the end of it, so tomorrow we're going to do the same thing. And at the end of tomorrow's episode, we're going to pick which one of all these different mock drafts was our best. So the past 2 ones, we have some winners. They're pretty good so far. We'll see if this one is a little bit better. But it's going to be a lot of fun. Taco Man, what is good? Bear down. Nice to see you out there indeed. So now let's get right into it, shall we? Let's first get into some news, as we always do, because quietly there's been some small little bits of news trickling out there, and then we'll get into some mock drafts. Also, Broski, my friend, how are you doing? Hope you're having a great day so far. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the big signing today, Doug Kramer, center / fullback. That whole pass, that / fullback thing gave me a little PTSD of him playing fullback. Now I know that Ben Johnson has said that he wants to have that he finds the fullback position important and he wants a fullback. I just would like it not to be Doug Kramer, because as we've said, when we watched the tape, it seems like you literally just did put an offensive lineman at the fullback position rather than actually having a fullback play the fullback position. But right now I have him slotted in. Actually, I did not update that specific one. Here we go. Doug Kramer is listed as the backup center. It could be him or Ricky Stromberg, but still, I don't think that you're out of the running from drafting an extra center or someone like that to at least compete. And, Ryan Poles originally did think Ryan Bates was a center, but to me, keep Ryan Bates as a backup, auxiliary man at the interior of your offensive line. Stick with that, right? That's something that I like. But hey, you bring back Doug Kramer, just adds a little bit of depth at that center position. So let's see what we have out there too. We got Broski saying worst player he's seen line up in the backfield. Romy's saying Doug will be cut before the season game 1. Yeah, Kramer's probably like, hey, can I come back? I don't want to move. Can you guys just pay me a little bit? See what it's all about. But yeah, I hope that this whole fullback experiment is gone. It was just not great. Also, Muck, my friend, bear down to you as well. And next big thing. So even worse than Doug Kramer's fullback play last season, Mykel Hardman ends up signing with the Green Bay Packers after meeting with the Chicago Bears. We never wanted him anyways. So Mykel Hardman goes over to the Packers. So now all eyes are on Rondale Moore. There's obviously other people that we could get to, but Rondale Moore might be very, very nice to just kind of bring in and ultimately end up signing. So we'll have to see that. Broski also asking, where's Johnny PayPal? I've told him to pop down in the comments sometimes. So I'll try and bug him for tomorrow and see if he ends up. I'll try to get him tomorrow so that he can pop in the comments and chat with y'all. So that's what I'll try and do. So let's get into the mock drafts, shall we? So for those that are new here and have joined us on this journey, welcome. So what we like to do is we like to have 2 different mock drafts, as the name entails, and then put them against each other. Some of these are just basically some inspiration that we get with different types of mock drafts and put them all together. And we only do 3 rounds. So we're not focused on day 3. We're really focused on the picks that matter. Also, I don't do any draft picks that I did in previous episodes, which, to be honest with you all, I'm finding very challenging when we start getting into the second rounds. So you'll notice that in the second rounds, spoiler alert, we have one that's probably a better pick. And then we have one that's a little bit of a reach just because that second round, we have two right there. Technically, we're going to be going through 16 different players at that inside of that little second round range. So it's going to be a little bit wider than expected. And there's a lot of corners that are projected in that kind of consensus little area. So let's get into what Daniel Jeremiah, though, talked about today, because he just released his mock draft 3.0, where he had the Chicago Bears selecting none other than Will Campbell, the offensive lineman from LSU. So with that, what we're going to do is we are actually going to start out with Will Campbell as our first pick for mock draft number 1. So with this, we're starting out. Daniel Jeremiah mocks Will Campbell to the Chicago Bears. So let's talk a little bit about Will Campbell at that number 10 position. And also, I want to know, what do you all think about Will Campbell going to the Chicago Bears? Because this, like all these picks, I love just kind of seeing what you all believe, what you all think, because we all have our own opinions with the NFL draft. And Will Campbell, 6'6", 319, junior, 3-year starter at LSU, and was a captain as a sophomore. And I kind of want to update his profile because I put his biggest strength as his football IQ. It should just be his mentality. It's his football IQ plus just the person that he is. He has this alpha mentality to him. He is the person that you want on the offensive line. And still, some of the coolest stories and some of the coolest things that you see this guy do is he actually calls out where people need to be on the offensive line as a left tackle. That's just how much knowledge he has for the game of football. Just an incredibly talented offensive lineman. PFF's 117th highest graded offensive tackle last season with a 72.2 PFF grade. But really, this guy, good in pass protection, 80.6 pass grade, allowed 11 hurries, 5 hits, and 2 sacks. And also, too, another piece that I just want to mention, like I said, good in pass pro and also in the run game, just very good at finishing people off. And last but not least, this guy, very, very good athlete. There's the graphic up there. Not many people run a sub 5 at his weight, but Will Campbell was able to do that. Very athletic for the position. So let's talk about the negatives, right? We always have to talk about the positives. The negatives about Will Campbell's game, the biggest one that is coming out right now is the length. I've talked about this on the show as well, that literally there has never been an offensive tackle drafted in the first round that has his measurables when it comes to arm length and when it comes to his wingspan. And I went all the way back, and I think that there was only 2 people that had shorter, there was like 3 people that had shorter wingspans throughout the entire, ever since that they have charted wingspans. And it's just 3 people that you did not know who they were at the offensive tackle position. If you include guards, there's only like 2 guards that were actually out there. It was like Elijah Vera Tucker. And oh gosh, I think it was Zach Martin. It was like another guard that was out there, because Will Campbell his measurements scream guard. And I think that is the thing from my perspective that gets me nervous about Will Campbell, because I think that he's the best offensive lineman in this draft. But what's difficult with Will Campbell is just where does he project? Because do the Bears need another guard? Well, to me, I think that Joe Thuney is going to sign an extension. And I think that's the big question. You should sign Joe Thuney to an extension, and people expect Joe Thuney to sign an extension. If he signs that as your left guard, you have your starting left guard, your starting center, and your starting right guard all on 3-year deals. You also have Darnell Wright with 2 years left on his deal, which you'll probably pick up the 5th-year option. So you're talking about, chances are you're going to have 4 of the 5 offensive linemen on 3-year deals. Only one that isn't is Braxton Jones, who's going to be a free agent. The big question is this person a left tackle? And if you look at it, all the stats, all what he is, points to him not being a left tackle. And I think that's then where the debate comes in. Because like I've said before on this show, people bring up, well, hey, he's played left tackle his whole career. He's been good. But you still see, like, the NFL is a different league. Elijah Vera Tucker played left tackle played tackle. He had to move inside to guard. You have someone like Peter Skoronski, same type of a situation. That's where, to me, that is my biggest fear with Will Campbell. And actually another piece that I'm a little bit like cognizant of is, so if you play him as a tackle, if you're drafting him as a tackle, you have that question of the long arms. And yet again, he's not like a Joe Alt caliber of a player. So that's where I'm kind of up there with just a little bit fearful with Will Campbell. So I don't mean any disrespect to Will Campbell. It's just when all the measurements say that he can't do it, then that's where I get a little bit scared, right? It's like trying to tow a gigantic camper with a Ford Ranger, right? If you need to pull this gigantic thing, you need a giant truck, you need a F-250 to tow this thing, and you're trying to bring out a Ranger, right? It's a good, reliable little truck, but it can't be a tackle. It can't haul what you need at the NFL level. So to me, that's just what I get a little bit nervous about him. Also, too, he does have a very upright stance. So that is something that also I kind of knock him a little bit for too, is if he does shift into guard, that's where you need to be a little bit lower to play the guard position. Yet again, still tackle. He could probably learn it a little bit. So let's see what y'all are saying. And 50% saying C. So yeah, let's see what else people are saying out there as well. Yeah, Broski's saying, I remember when Johnny left the show. Yeah, never heard from him again. Because Johnny PayPal is my brother, so we talk all the time, and I'm always like, dude, you should just pop on one time and just talk. So yeah, but dude, I love these little mock drafts that we're doing. Muckbuck's saying, I would prefer Will Campbell over Genty. I can tell you that much. Broski's saying Campbell projects as a guard, not a left tackle. Yeah, and he says draft a guy who actually played guard. His arms are too short to play left tackle. And then let's see. Taka Man, lock up Brax now. Romy's saying Twitter will be fire when the Bears. Yeah, I'm actually surprised at how many people hate the idea of Ashton Genty. Because I remember getting yelled at because I didn't want the Bears to re-sign David Montgomery. And I feel like we've almost gone too far, where it's like Ashton Genty does have a lot of talent, and for people to like start a Twitter war over it, I'm like, okay, that might be a little much. But let's see. Do not want Genty, nothing against the kid. I draft Adrian Peterson at 10 in a heartbeat. Yeah, I think too, something that's difficult is at the number 10 position, Brock Bowers is better than Tyler Warren coming out. And also, like, when you look at Bijan Robinson versus Ashton Genty, it's like there's better players that came out the last couple years. So I think that's also something that's challenging as well. And Brock Bowers went 13th as well. So yeah, but let's end the poll. So not as much love as I honestly thought it was going to get. And if someone joins later and sees this, feel free to throw it in the comments if you think that Will Campbell deserves a better grade than a C on this. So now Bears come away with Will Campbell. So most likely assuming that he's going to be that left tackle, Ryan Poles seemingly is okay with that and says, hey, we're good. We think that he's got enough athleticism so that he'll be fine. So let's see what they do with the second pick. So in that second pick, the Chicago Bears select Tyreek Williams, defensive tackle out of Ohio State. How do we feel about this pick? Because we really haven't talked about the Bears getting a defensive tackle too much. So I might have a common thread with this one, right? Because like I've said before, I like to kind of go with themes, and defensive tackle might be a theme of this. So what do people think about the Bears drafting a defensive tackle at this position? Because some of my thoughts with D tackle is that I like the concept of it because you're adding a little bit of depth, because even though that you have Andrew Billings coming back, you only have about 1 year left of him. So you're kind of drafting 1 year ahead. So I don't mind it. And also too, you kind of have him at Williams could be with a Andrew Billings, or vice versa. You could have Tyreek Williams with Javon Dexter, and he can kind of keep that three technique type of a position. So there's other elements that you can do if you draft a defensive tackle, because now you're 4 defensive tackles deep. Feel pretty good about your depth, and you're kind of kicking Zach Pickens out into the pasture, Chris Williams out to the pasture. One of those people will probably take that 5th spot. So let's see what y'all have to say. So a little bit about Tyreek Williams, D tackle, Ohio State, 6'3", 334 pounds. He's the consensus board's number 47 overall player, defensive tackle number 6. It's a deep defensive tackle class. He's projected to go in the early 2nd. Bears take him in the early 2nd. Reminds me a little bit of a BJ Hill, even a little bit of Eddie Goldman. But the big thing with Tyreek Williams, this is not a pass rusher. This is your 2-gap run stuffer. This is someone that you can pair with if you want Gervon Dexter to be a 3-tech, like we were just talking about. Because when you look at who he is, 60.5 pass rush grade, but an 88.6 run stuff grade. And the thing that I love about his game as well is he's surprisingly fast. And the 334 pounds is what he weighed in at the combine. So he truly is a 334-pound human being. And he's got some good movement skills for him as well. So you can still teach him some pass rush moves. This is not going to be a flashy player that is picking up sacks over and over again. This is just going to be someone that makes you stout against the run. And that's what I really like about him. So yeah, nothing really pops on his film, but the thing that is nice is for someone his size, the quickness is just really, really nice. Also, I don't love that he plays with a little bit of high pad level. He needs to get a little bit lower in his stance. When he pops up, he just goes straight up. So keep it level, keep it low. And I think that this could be a good pick, but let's see what y'all are thinking about this. Muck loves this. He says, love this pick, love the player. Broski's saying, loves him some Tyreek Williams. And he did an all Ohio State mock draft. That'd be cool. So Egbuka, yeah, Judkins, TJ Tuamalu. Yeah, that would be cool. And it would work. You get a wide receiver, you get everybody out there. And yeah, getting this person too, and Muck talking about Zach Pickens. I agree. I don't think that Zach Pickens, we didn't see any progression, right? And I think that is where, right, with him and like a Tyler Scott, there's a little bit of doubt because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the growth. We haven't seen anything like that. So getting a defensive tackle, and like we said, a year before Billings might be pretty darn good. And good point too, Muck. Jarrett in his 30s. So yeah, need something like that too. So Tyreek Williams, we got 50% B, we got 38% A, and 12% C. So a little bit better than Will Campbell out there with some of the grades. So we got a left tackle, we got a defensive tackle with some depth out there. And then the next piece that we want to get. So like I said, we kind of get someone good. So this is going to be a slight reach, but it's going to be for a need with someone that I know some of you like. And that is Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU, the consensus number 54 player. So he's been climbing up draft boards. Actually, not climbing up. He's been shooting up draft boards more and more and more. He's the consensus tight end 3. And I want to say when we started the draft season, he might have been all the way down at like tight end 10. He's 6'5", 251 pounds, and this is the NFL prototype for the tight end. You see him, he's got the speed, he's got the size. Now, I do think he needs to get a little bit bigger though, to play in line, but he gives you the height. He gives you like the great catch radius. Also too, I really like him in zone because when you watch some of his highlights, the best highlights that he has, first off, he'll take like little dump offs. It kind of reminds me a little bit of, unfortunately, the Packers tight end, Tucker Kraft, where he can just take a little tiny out route, a little drag, and he can do these little tiny routes and just break him out for big yardage just because of his speed. It's not like he's breaking all sorts of tackles. It's just he's a reliable target. 3-year starter, no crazy production just because LSU has had nonstop first-round wide receivers, but still was able to put up 55 receptions, 546 receiving yards, and only 2 touchdowns. So has the speed to stretch the field, Good versus zone coverage as well. Just seems very smart, knows how to kind of drop into the holes on zone. The thing that I also get a little concerned about is when he is paired up in man coverage. You just don't really see a disciplined route runner when it seems like he kind of just runs one speed. Like there's not a slowness and then accelerate. He just kind of runs his routes at one speed, and it shows because his separation numbers, his separation on tape, not the best. So more of a zone beater and kind of a give me short routes or let me beat the zone. But Mason Taylor, also overall from PFF, 67.8, which was the 64th highest among all tight ends. But like I said, 3-year starter, about 50-50 inline and slot, but he can play either way. Just needs a little bit more mass on his frame in order to play in line. And also, I have to say this because this is kind of like, did you know Jimmy Graham used to play basketball? Did you know Mason Taylor is the son of Jason Taylor, the defensive end from the Dolphins? So you're going to hear that nonstop during draft week. So just wanted to throw that out there. But let's see what y'all are saying out there. Right now, 50% giving it a B, 50% saying C. That's kind of like what I was expecting with this. Broski's saying, I like Mason Taylor, but there are better players to pick at the spot. Muck says, he's good. I'd prefer Elijah Arroyo. He's quicker and more athletic than Taylor. And yeah, Sean, what's good, my friend? Nice to see you out there. So yeah, just kind of an overall solid tight end. Gives you the frame. And yeah, so like you all giving it like a 45% B, 55% C. Yeah, I agree with that. Like when I made this, I'm like, this is good. I'm not in love with him at all, but it's like just a good player. Also, former teammate of a one Will Campbell. So now we have our left tackle. We have a D tackle. We have a tight end to just kind of have a nice 2 tight end punch. So what are we going to go and do at defensive end, eh? So let me just start this little poll up. A, B, C, and D. So now we're in the 3rd round. No defensive end. So what are we going to do? So how about let's go with Braden Swinson. Yes, that's a real name. Braden Swinson, edge out of LSU. Senior, 6'4", 255. To me, reminds me of Malcolm Kuntz, projected to go in the 3rd round, and he's number 72 overall consensus on the big board. We're going with a lot of LSU players out here for Will Campbell, and this is the consensus edge 13. PFF's grade, 83.3. Let me tell you a little bit something about this guy. When I put on this tape, I have covered a lot of drafts. I have watched so much tape. Whenever we go into the 3rd round, whenever we go into the 4th round, defensive ends all start to look the same, right? It's either a small, quick guy or just like a big guy that they're like, you could probably do something. And they don't really have moves. But my gosh, Braden Swinson, if you have not watched his tape, his highlight film, whatever it might be, this guy has some of the best hands in this class, some of the best pass rush moves in this class, period. He's a 1-year starter at LSU. The thing I don't love is he projects to be more of an outside linebacker. So for the Bears, maybe not the best fit. He needs to just bulk up if he was going to be as a defensive end. But man, when I was watching this guy, his pass rush moves are crazy. And the number one comment on it was, why is this guy not going in the 1st? And that's kind of what I felt too. I thought that he had amazing, he could hit people with counters. You could just tell he would hit people like long arm them and just really stick his arms out and then just toss them aside, do a swim move. This guy has a repertoire of pass rush moves that you do not see in a 3rd rounder. And to me, I couldn't believe it. And last year came away with 9 sacks, 43 hurries, and 8 QB hits. Was an absolute menace, a 22.1% pass rush win rate. This guy is flying up boards because I think nobody watched him. This week was the first time that I watched him because I'm like, I need to just find some new people. I was, scouting more people out, and I did not watch Braden Swinson. Put him on, and I'm like, geez, this guy is good. Now, why is he a third round pick? Why is he still projected to go in the third? If I just told you that this is a first round, he is legit first round caliber pass rush moves. I put that in my scouting report. You do not see players in the third that have this wide of a bag of pass rush moves. It's because, to me, two things. One, you just don't see a lot of true power in his game when it comes down to the run defense. Like when he's asked to anchor in the run defense, you just don't really see that. He had a 5.8 run stop rate, which not the best. 69.6 run grade. Not terrible, but it's not great either. But really just his whole run defense, it's not the best. He's more of a pass rush specialist, which to me, I like the idea. If you're going to take someone in the third and you feel good about Dayo Odengbo, you can have a Braden Swinson that can give you that third down production. And yes, you have an Austin Booker, who I saw some people actually kind of comped him to as well. I think that he's a better prospect than Austin Booker, especially because he just has more moves than Austin Booker, more production than Austin Booker. So I really liked him. I really, really liked Braden Swinson overall. So this was one of my he might be one of my little draft crushes because his tape was just so much fun to watch. There's another guy that I was trying to squeeze into one of these mock drafts, but he'll be out there tomorrow. That is someone that I was watching just going, this guy's so much fun to watch. But Braden Swinson is someone who I really like. So I have him out there. Let's see what y'all are saying. We got 44% of you saying C, 11% saying D. How dare you? No, just kidding. But then we got 33 saying B and 11 saying A. So not a lot of people in love with this pick. No worries at all. I got enough love for him. So we got Broski saying, yes, smash the like, subscribe. I appreciate it so much, my friend. And Sean saying, I think we have a lot of good options and different possibilities in this draft. I really need a safety in the second round. So tomorrow, I'm definitely picking some safeties. So tomorrow will be a little bit different because a lot of the edges we're going through, a lot of the linemen we're actually going through with these other ones. Taka Man saying younger Darrell Taylor. Yeah, actually, that's a kind of a good comp. But yeah, smaller guy. That's the only thing that I'd say one of my biggest downsides of him. I don't really think that he's necessarily a fit for the Bears system, but wanted to talk to him overall. So let's see what else out there. Broski saying, didn't realize it was like that between you and Braden. Yeah, me too. You know, it's his name starts with Brad. I just have a bias. You know, that's just what happens. Let's see. Sean saying, any chance the OT Gray falls to us? Maybe. Because I think too. Yeah, I think also like kind of like what Broski's saying. I think he kind of ultimately is going to be a guard. He has similar measurables to like a Will Campbell. So yeah, probably projects best to guard, center type of a deal, but it'd be cool. I think that he will start to drop just because of the whole Senior Bowl stuff. So yeah, but let's keep on riding with this. That is the first draft that we have out there. We have Will Campbell, Tyreek Williams, the D tackle, Mason Taylor, and Braden Swinson. Also, Mykel saying, if I remember correctly, you live in Austin. I did live in Austin. And same here. There's lots of Bears fans in Austin. I used to live in Austin back in the day, but yeah, so that's where the Texas Longhorn fandom kind of runs. But yeah, I'm up in Wisconsin. I'm in enemy territory right now, so got to build thick skin going against some of those Packer fans for sure. So that is mock draft number 1, the Will Campbell one, the Daniel Jeremiah one out there. So now we got to go into our second mock draft. So our second mock draft, we're going with the mock father, the draft father, Mel Kiper Jr., the godfather of the NFL draft. And for him, he released his newest mock draft, his post-free agency mock draft. And for him, he has the Bears at number 10, taking none other than Mykel Williams, the defensive end out of Georgia. So now let's break down this pick because with him, he's got them going defensive end in the first round. So now let's see, how would you all grade this pick? Because I know that this is a fan favorite with Mykel Williams. So I want to see with the people watching, how does everyone feel about Mykel Williams Jr., 6'5", 260? This is the consensus number 15 player overall, edge number 4, projected to go in round 1, has kind of shades of Aldon Smith, this big, strong power profile, 78.4 PFF grade, which is good for 113th in the NCAA last season, had a 11.1% pass rush win rate at the defensive end spot, a 7.6% run stop rate, and when you look at his grades, 70.7 pass rush grade, 82.9 run grade, had 5 sacks, 15 hurries, and 6 quarterback hits, and only 21 tackles. So, how do we feel about this one? Because Mykel Williams, if you had to talk about a defensive end that fits kind of the profile that what a Dennis Allen would want, it'd probably be a Mykel Williams. We talked about Shamar yesterday, where he's kind of that big time athlete. Mykel Williams would be that other person that he'd want to be alongside with. Now, Stewart, more of a speedier guy at the defensive end spot. Mykel Williams does not have that same speed. I think anytime someone I've seen a lot of people just say he's an athlete. He's good. He's got some crazy length. He's got some long arms, but you kind of see it. He doesn't necessarily have a great first step. He actually has a relatively slow get off when you put him out on tape. The thing that I think makes it seem like he has this great get off is because the thing that I really do like about him when you put on the tape is this guy just will attack whoever's in front of him. When he gets off, he's going to pop you in the face. He's just a violent first stepper. Not a fast first stepper, a violent one, which is nice at the defensive end spot. And man, like I said, originally from Austin, I'm a UT fan. Mykel Williams whooped up on the Texas Longhorns. And I actually rewatched that game yesterday, and man, he was dominant. And if he can play like he did against Texas, I love this pick. But the fact is, there's a lot of other games out there. And when you look at the entirety of his career at Georgia, especially with this year, the thing that I just don't see is that pass rush plan. He had a 61 true pass rush grade, according to PFF. Not great, especially because we know that we need to get to the quarterback. What can you do? And quite frankly, Mykel just wasn't great in those situations at getting to the quarterback. Hence the reason why he only has 5 sacks or an 11% pass rush win rate. He needs to develop pass rush skills. And that's the thing that kind of brings me back a little bit, makes me a little bit lower than consensus on a Mykel Williams, because I want to see more of that pass rush, and it's difficult to kind of develop that. But overall with Mykel Williams, what you need to know about him is he gives you what a Dennis Allen would want inside of his system. So I think that's why the Bears actually have talked to Mykel Williams, and I think that Dennis Allen would really want this person in his system. And he also is a very high floor run defender with his long arms, and just does bring a lot of violence, bring a lot of strength to the position. But you're going to have to train him on how to attack the pass rusher. So let's see what y'all have to say. So overall, with the grades, we have 33% saying A, 44% saying B, and 22% saying D. So yeah, Sean's saying, yeah, how far north? I'm north of Milwaukee, but I'm south of Appleton, or like the Fox Valley. So kind of in that little area. So not too far north, like up into Superior or anything like that. But let's see what we're saying. Taco Man saying he's down for anything with the line. Sean's saying, broski, I like Gray Zabel as a guy. Yeah, I like Gray Zabel too. But yeah, it's hard because the offensive line that we have out there. Yeah, Taco Man saying coaches need to do their job with Mykel. Yeah, and let's see what else. Yeah, so it just seems solid. Majority B's, a lot of A's, right? So a lot of love with Mykel. Like I said, this is someone that a lot of people really do like. And like I said, not as high as a lot of the consensus, but he gives you a good floor with run defense, and he's a powerful guy. He is a very, very powerful guy. So that's why that Dennis Allen would love a guy like that for sure. So let's see. let's see what we have. And Victor's saying too, I like the idea of taking a defensive guy. So I graded it an A. Not in love with Williams at 10, maybe later. I think that's where too. I like with this entire class. I heard someone say this where there's only like 15 or so first round grades, but then everyone else, like it's a pretty deep class, but there's just not a lot of like good talent. Like if you are drafting at 13, you can draft someone very, very similar at like in the 30s or in the 40s or something like that. So if there's no elite talent, yeah, trading down. And I think there's also like 6 defensive ends in the top 20 on the consensus board. It's just, there's so many defensive ends, so many talented defensive ends out there. So that's who Mel Kiper has the Bears taking at number 10. So now let's get into the second pick that the Bears get. And like I said, I'm copying a lot of what we had in the last draft. I'm going to try to do a little bit of apples to apples comparisons with this. So at the first second round pick, the Bears say, hey, we want our defensive line to be even better. And what they're going with is they're going with Darius Alexander, defensive tackle out of Toledo, senior, 6'4", 310 pounds, and he's got the stamp of approval from Ryan Poles, meaning this guy tested in the green for a RAS score, so a very athletic defensive tackle, but also played in the Senior Bowl. And quite frankly, this is someone who is very, very, very good in the Senior Bowl practices. People were saying he looked explosive. He was consistently dominating reps. And something that I love about him is he just gives you everything that you want at the defensive tackle position, mainly at that 3 technique. So if they think, I think the big question, do you think that Gervon Dexter would play best as a 3 technique like we have had him at the past 2 seasons? Or do we want him to be more of that 2 gap in the 1 gap so that he's kind of that nose tackle because it just is raw strength? That's actually what I thought we were originally going to do with Gervon Dexter. Darius Alexander, more that true 3 tech, and he just checks all the boxes. He's got length. He's got power. He dominated the Senior Bowl. He had a quicker first step during Senior Bowl rather than inside of the actual the tape that you watch, but he's quick enough. Also, he's got the longest arms on the planet. He just kind of uses his arms to just create space very, very well with the offensive linemen in front of him. To me, this is just a very good player. Very good player. PFF grade, 78 pass rush grade, 90.3 run grade, a 12.9 pass rush win rate at D tackle is very, very good. And a 7.9 run win rate is good. And also reminds me of David Onyemata, a former Dennis Allen person. So this is a Dennis Allen draft. Darius Alexander, his new David Onyemata, and also you have Mykel Williams, his new Peyton Turner, his new defensive end of choice on the opposite side. Hopefully Cam Jordan, but also Darius Alexander, 90.1 overall grade, which was the 4th best among all defensive tackles at with the PFF grade. So what's the bad? What's the negative with Darius Alexander? Now, one of them is he was older when he had his breakout season. So he was 24 years old when he had this breakout season. Now, why is that bad? Well, because you're bigger. You're going against 18-year-olds. You're going against 19-year-olds, and you're 24. So you're going to be naturally stronger, naturally bigger. Also, too, I think that there was just some inconsistency with this game. He's still kind of working through with just like an overall pass rush plan, but he knows enough where, to me, I think that he can be an instant contributor. And something that I do like is, hey, he's going to be an older prospect, but if you can get good production out of a rookie immediately for 4 years, while you have, Caleb Williams for 4 years, I don't mind that and letting him walk. And then maybe we're in a spot where we can actually get a comp pick. So to me, I like Darius Alexander. I think that he gives you he's a high floor type of a player, a little bit older, but just a very smart player at that. And so with that, 67% saying B, 11% saying C, and 22% saying A. So let's see what a lot of y'all are saying. Sean, not a fan of the Mykel pick. And then also too, Broski saying, not a fan because he played in the MAC. Good point. Toledo going against lesser competition with that. I do like that he was at least able to also say, hey, at the Senior Bowl, still kind of dominate some of that competition too. And then, with K saying, I guess you're cutting Pickens with this pick. Yeah, so when we bring in a D tackle, probably Pickens on the way out, and then they'll probably maybe keep like a Chris Williams as someone that can kind of just hang around there a little bit. Yeah, like what Sean said. Pickens, the way that he played, man, Pickens really didn't do much for sure. But so do we have Darius Alexander, defensive tackle for the Chicago Bears. So with this defensive end, D tackle, and I got to be honest with y'all, because we like to just kind of go through different, thoughts and ideas. I was actually going to go defensive end with this next second round pick, just to kind of go absolutely crazy and be like, we're drafting 2 defensive ends, 1 D tackle. We're going to have a crazy defensive line. And honestly, I kind of like the idea, but I'm like, you know what? We aren't going to do that. We're not going to draft another defensive end for this because, like I said, I kind of wanted to make it so that we had kind of like comparable drafts with this. So the next pick that I had the Bears drafting was tight end out of Miami, Elijah Arroyo. Now, I know that we have some Arroyo fans out here inside of the chat. We might have even had a comment about Elijah Arroyo earlier up at the very top from a Mr. Muck. So we got Elijah Arroyo down here, redshirt junior out of Miami, 6'5". He actually measured taller than what Miami had him at. So 6'5", 250. The number 60 overall tight end number 4. So from the consensus board, lower than Mason Taylor, but this is kind of the profile of Elijah Arroyo. I put Gerald Everett. Do not let that make you think that he's a bad player. It's Chargers Gerald Everett, not Bears Gerald Everett. He's also 72 with the PFF grade, which was 36th best among all tight ends. Now, the reason why I put Gerald Everett, this guy's a smooth mover. He's I put complete athlete. He can run, he can jump, he can do it all. And he really does run like a wide receiver at 6'5", 250. Now, Mason Taylor, he's got good NFL running, NFL everything. But Elijah Arroyo, to me, is faster. He's quicker. When you put on the tape, you just go, wow. And that's honestly how Gerald Everett used to look like for the Chargers. They would just throw him little bubble screens. He'd break tackles and go out. And what Elijah Arroyo does is they will put him anywhere. They will put him at fullback. They will put him out wide. They will put him in the slot. They'll put him anywhere that you want this guy, he'll play. And that's something that I think Ben Johnson will look at and go, okay, I can get this fast guy. I can get this guy that I can throw little bubble screens to. I think that's something that Elijah Arroyo would really, really excel at. And now the only thing that is a little bit negative is a couple pieces. His production isn't as great as I think some people wanted. When you do put him, though, up against other tight ends, 35 receptions, 590 yards, that's not bad. And 7 touchdowns. Also, too, 20% contested catch. So not necessarily someone to go up there and get it, but also, too, only a 1-year starter. That's kind of where the weakness of production comes into play. Why did this crazy athlete all of a sudden pop out of nowhere? Well, part of the reason, too, is this guy was also banged up. So you really need to make sure that his knee injuries are all cleared and are all good to go. Because if that's good, this is an absolute crazy athlete of a pick that, like I said, Ben Johnson would probably really like. So let's see what y'all have to say out there too. Victor saying he loves the idea of defense with first 3. Yeah, like just kind of build up with that. But let's see what y'all are saying. Muck saying he likes him better than Warren. Hey man, that's some fighting words with Broski. And then Broski saying Arroyo means stream or creek in Spanish. Good to know. Then Victor saying good pick here, great speed and hands. Yak guy. Couldn't say it better myself, Victor. I totally agree. And then Sean saying, can Arroyo block at all? This is the thing, though. Arroyo was actually one of my first tight ends that I did a profile on. The thing that I think is a general consensus, the more tight ends that I watch, the more I'm realizing none of them can block. None of them are actually that good at blocking. Arroyo is not necessarily like a great blocker, but I would have to actually rewatch him again compared to the other ones. I'd say he's on par with a lot of the other tight ends out there. So all of them still seem to kind of do a little bit more. So let's see what else is out there. We got Arroyo, we got Alan. What's good, my friend? Hope you're doing well. And Broski saying reminds him of Aaron Hernandez. I was actually going to make the comp because he was able to play everywhere. And I was like, what? I'm not going to. I'm going to go with Gerald Everett. So it's too soon. It's too soon. So, but yeah, Elijah Arroyo, just an absolute great athlete at the receiver position. Instant upside there. So let's see what y'all are saying. We got 43% saying A. So a lot of y'all really love that pick. 29% saying B, 14 saying C, and 14 saying D. Now, I might have actually gone a little bit too far in one of my slides for the last pick, which I feel like this, I think that this is another one that might divide some of us, or it might just be an absolute home run of a pick. So right now, we have, in both drafts, we have defensive ends. We have tight ends. We have defensive ends. We have tight ends. We have defensive tackles. And now, with the last pick in the third round pick that the Bears have, the Bears select running back out of Arizona State, senior, 5'11", 215, Cameron Skattebo. What does everybody feel about this pick? Because I feel like some people are absolute Skattebo fans, Skattabros out there. And then others, I feel like, hey, I don't want to touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. Now, the thing that I'll tell you about this is I first watched Skattebo's tape, and at first I was not super impressed just because of the lack of speed. Then I put on more games, and I'm going, this guy he's a football player. He's just someone that makes people miss. He reminds me of David Montgomery, and I'm not just making the connection to the Bears fans and other things like that. He reminds me of David Montgomery because he's such a side-to-side mover. And I think people don't really understand that with his game, where he's a very shifty runner and just someone that does not want to go down. He's just an absolute workhorse of a running back that is just trying to fight for yards. And also too, just like David Montgomery, he'll get brought down in open field when he's trying to run for a home run. So he does not have the long speed to get the home runs. But when you see him, PFF's fourth highest graded running back with a 93.2. He's the consensus 80th player on the consensus big board, running back 6, projected to go in that second to third round range. And I really like this pick because I think he is a very good complement to DeAndre Swift. And you're also spending a third round draft pick on a running back that I think is just going to be a football player for the next handful of years that's going to fight for dirty yards. And I know that Ben Johnson is going to love a player like this on his team. He had 1,700 yards last year on the ground, 5.8 yards per carry, 21 touchdowns, 44 receptions for 543 yards, a 139 elusive rating, which is very good, and a 4.06 yards after contact. Second most broken tackles in the NCAA, and also too, something that really is great, 90 plus grades in both gap and zone systems. So different. He's very scheme diverse. Just give him the ball and he'll go. Just very, very good. Now, what are some of the negatives? We talked about the long speed. Another thing too, 10 fumbles since 2022. Now, you're hoping that he had to do everything with the Arizona Sun Devils. Hopefully, hey, now you don't have to do everything. Maybe you're retired. Maybe you don't fumble it as much. That is something that is a concern because 10 fumbles, that's a lot. That is definitely something you need to talk to him about. But I want to see what y'all have to say for sure. So let's see. Kay saying they like many other running backs here better. And then also Sean saying hates Skattebo. He was tough in college, but in the NFL, he will be overwhelmed. And this is what I was kind of hoping for, some some good, some bad, some love, some hate with the Skattebo pick. I really like that. And Kay's saying too, lots of wear and tear on this kid. That's a very good point too. He said he was worn down on a Super Bowl interview. Yeah, or a Senior Bowl interview. Yeah, that's not something good to say. But yeah, running backs, taking a beating. And let's see, this is like the Bears signing Kramer. Skattebo isn't NFL caliber at all. He was wearing all this gold at the combine and didn't run. Week, he's not NFL caliber. Oh, Super Bowl. There you go. But yeah, that's what I wanted to know. So we have 55% though saying A, 18 saying B, 9 saying C, and 18 saying D. So little bit split with this. I mean, the voting is all with the A's. In the chat, we're getting some negativity with Cam Skattebo. I like just seeing this though, just to see what y'all think about this player. So now it is the moment of truth. Now we get to flip over and see which is the winner of today. So let me just kind of flip this over so y'all can see the different ones, and let's start a poll. Which is your favorite mock draft? We're going to go with 1 or 2. So now we're going to check this out. Let me post this poll out there and we'll see. So just recapping what we have for the different mock drafts. We have the first one is Will Campbell with Tyreek Williams. And with Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU. We have Tyreek Williams, D lineman out of Ohio State, so D tackle. Mason Taylor at pick 41, tight end out of LSU. And Braden Swinson, edge out of LSU. And then on the other side, we have Mykel Williams, edge out of Georgia. Darius Alexander, defensive lineman out of Toledo. At 41, Elijah Arroyo at pick 41, the tight end out of Miami. And to round things off, pick 72, Cam Skattebo, running back out of Arizona. So let's see what you'll have to say. So this is my thought. I agree with Kay. I think that this is our worst group of mock drafts that we've done yet. Yeah, Victor's saying 2, Broski's saying 2. This is definitely the worst crop of mock drafts we've had. I think whoever they're going against, they will lose in the next round. I think the big reason, right? I joke about it, but when I look at this, my whole take on this is I'm just not a huge fan of some of the picks that we're doing at 1. Just like what I said about Will Campbell, Mykel Williams. I don't hate the pick by any stretch, but that's kind of just what I feel about like the number 10 pick, is I just feel very like I know what some of y'all said. Maybe we could trade back, right? We could maybe trade back and get another D end or something like that. That's where I'm kind of like, So I actually lean more towards the second draft just because I like the first pick better. And I also like just the flow of that draft as well. I also like Arroyo a little bit better than a Mason Taylor. And then Darius Alexander, I like him at least. I think that he's just going to give you good production. I don't love him more. I put him and Tyreek Williams about even. I like Swinson, but like I said, don't necessarily think he's really a scheme fit. So I'd go with Skattebo from the running back perspective. So yeah, I think overall we're just like, okay, this one, let's wait till tomorrow and we'll see which one is going to be crushing it. And Kay's saying too, because I was actually going to ask Kay, what are some of your running backs that you like? Because yeah, Dylan Sampson's definitely got the speed from Tennessee. So yeah, but let's see. I will end this poll because like we said, this one was a little bit of a dud, but we were still able to go through just a lot of different players out there. And tomorrow will be our last one. And then we will put the 4 mock drafts that we have picked out against each other to say which one was the best. I have a feeling it's not going to be this one that we went through. So tomorrow, I'm going to switch it up a little bit more. We're going to have some safeties out there in the 3rd round. We're going to have a defensive tackle prospect that when I was watching, got really blown away with just this person's pure strength. Just a little teaser. You might even know who it is, but this is just someone that was absolute just strength guy that will be there for the Bears with the 2nd round pick. So like I said, thank you all so much for coming out, tomorrow we'll kind of wrap this thing up, and then we'll get into our normal just big boards, mock drafts just being on Mondays, and just get you more and more prepared for the draft. I'm hoping next week y'all will be able to have the free draft guide. So if you haven't already, like and subscribe out there on YouTube. Rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Thank y'all so much for coming out again. And Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a